Welcome back to City Skylines 2, where in the last video I built my first ever city in this game. And in this one I will actually already be starting a new one. Because the last one had a bunch of different mistakes that I honestly just don't really feel like fixing. And overall I just feel like it's better to start fresh. I have already picked the map that I want to build on. I want to build on the Lakeland map. And that's mainly for two reasons. One is that it's quite a cold map, meaning it will have a bunch of snow during the winter, and I want to have snow in my build. And then the second is, of course, all of the lakes. I just feel like it's quite a unique map, and that could be quite a nice build all around those lakes. So let's select it, let's randomize a city name. Maybe you can suggest a better one, because I'm not creative enough to think of one myself. Let's leave natural disasters on, and let's start the game. And so this is the map. As the name suggests, it has quite a lot of lakes and different watery areas like this. And I guess I can just start off by deleting this grid that's already here. And I would like to start off by just flattening this whole area out a bit.
You can say hello, but I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like. You can love.
Now let's start off with a kind of basic city plan. My plan is to have this entire island over here to be kind of the main downtown core of the city. And now as for the industrial areas, I would like to have some industrial areas along this highway over here. And although the wind is blowing towards the city from here, I think the river and this lake up here is wide enough to where it won't be able to blow the pollution far enough to actually affect the city. But of course I will need to unlock that area first, and for that I need to reach the first milestones. So let's just start off with kind of a small town over here, and work our way up from that. And I will be doing something that I basically never did in City Skylines 1, which is making a kind of grid. I will still probably try to make it a bit more interesting by making the grid break up pretty often. But yeah, this city is gonna be way more of a grid than my City Skylines 1 cities. And I will have a grid of 240 meters by 96 meters. Okay, so this grid should be big enough to start off with, and now next I need to place my electricity and water and sewage. For the start of the city I will actually import the electricity, and I will build my own power plant later on. So let's take the power over to this side, and place a transformer station on this road right here. And then for the water, I will just have a regular water pumping station. And for the sewage, just a regular sewage outlet downstream. So let's just get those connected up.
Wake me up, not in this century. Don't wake me up.
And now let's start zoning in our first houses.
My head, you're just a ghost. You're never there.
I will also have a little bit of commercial in some of these squares over here. But most of the commercial is gonna be focused along this main road here.
Inside my head.
So now we just hit Tiny Village, and with that we can unlock a bit more tiles. We also unlock the Pop Musician Mansion, and medium housing as well as some larger roads. We will also have to place some healthcare and deathcare, as well as garbage management. But as I said before, my industry is gonna be on this side over here. So let's unlock these tiles over here, so we can start expanding the industry area. I will once again just start off by flattening this area and just kind of making it a bit more smooth so it's easier to build on.
Wake me up, not in this century. Don't wake me up.
So the grid for the industrial area will be a bit more rectangular, if that makes sense. So it will be 112 meters by 112 meters.
Ghosts, you're never there. You're just a memory on my lips. 'Cause you're just a ghost.
And now some of the first industrial areas are being zoned in, but they do not have water or sewage access, because the pipes don't go over the bridges. So let's just provide them with some water and some sewage as well. And another thing I want to place in this industrial area is a power plant. For now that will be just a regular small coal power plant, but I'll probably upgrade it later on. And there is some groundwater deposits under here, but I'm not really planning on using them, so we should be fine with just placing this on top of it. And actually, let's just rotate that in a different direction. And of course, we also need to connect it up to the electricity grid. And the next thing I will place is some healthcare and deathcare, of course. Like for instance, this house over here is already waiting for an ambulance. Now I want this medical clinic to be quite central to this whole area, and since I'm planning to further expand down into here, then I will place it on this side of the city. It will be right near the main road for quick access for ambulances to get anywhere they need to go. And in general, it's just a great spot for it. And we will also leave some space for an extension wing if it's needed in the future, but I will probably still zone this area in and then just demolish some houses if I need to expand it. And now the other thing I need is a cemetery. And I think the cemetery can go on the ends of one of these grids right here. We can make a larger park around it. Or in fact, I can just expand this grid out a little bit. So we will instead just expand the grid a little bit just like this, and place the cemetery in the middle of this. And now there's just one more recently unlocked thing that I need to place for the city to function properly, and that is of course a landfill. We will of course place it in the industrial area that we just made, and I don't exactly want to place it right next to the power plant, because later on I want to upgrade this power plant to a different one, and I think that's a larger one. So let's just extend the grid out like this. And then I can place the landfill in this bit over here. First I want to make the grid around it, and then I can zone in the landfill itself. And now that we have actually placed everything that's needed for the city to function, we're about to level up again. We're just a couple XP away, and then we will have a lot more stuff to place once again. So let's just place some more housing in this area just to level up. We're just 5 XP away, we should hit this milestone anytime now. And there it is. And with that we unlock the ability to control taxes. And another really important thing, we unlock schools, an elementary and a high school. But before we place any of those, I want to take care of some of this medium density residential demand. And I will do that by rezoning some of these houses over here, instead of placing a whole new area. And I'm leaving a one wide gap at the end so that they don't zone in facing this road, because I want them to face these longer roads over here. And now I will actually start expanding to the opposite side of the street here. And the grid here will be a little different. The grid here will be reaching out 104 meters. That will be going across 192, which is 2 widths of the solid grid here, so that it connects up like this every second road basically. And now, before I start zoning in any houses in this new area over here, I actually want to place a school in here. Now, I didn't measure anything, but I'm hoping that an elementary school can fit in here. And yes, it can. So let's place it right around here. And actually, it also has a bunch of upgrades. So maybe I could actually move it over to this side of the grid here. And then I can fit in a playground. Yes, I will actually place this playground right away, because it gives bonuses in the entire area, not just for the school. And of course I will not place an extension wing yet, because that's just not needed, and I can't exactly fit a children's clinic in here, that's just a little too big. So this school won't have a children's clinic. And I also would like to place a high school somewhere. I think that I will place the high school in a similar way to the cemetery by skipping one of the grid lines on this side. And same as the elementary school, I will place it in one corner of the grid. And this kind of placement also allows for a sports field to be placed next to it. Of course, a bunch of grid lines would have to be skipped, but that's completely okay. And both of these upgrades just fit in the original footprint of the building. Now, I will not place a sports field yet, but I will keep it in mind when expanding to this area here. Now, another thing we got was the pop musician mansion. And I will actually place this mansion in this area over here near the school. And they also actually want to try and detail these schools, this mansion, and the cemetery here as well. The detailing in this game still isn't great, but I'll see what I can do. And while detailing, I unlocked a large village, which gives me specialized industries, fire, and police administration. Now those are all things that I will need to place, but first I need to just place a few more trees around this. And I actually just placed a lot of saplings all over the place just so I can have a forest later on. If I don't like the trees, then I can just remove them afterwards, but since they take quite a while to grow up, then I place the saplings right now, and later on I will have a forest. So I guess let's start off by placing the firehouse, and then afterwards we will need to place a police station as well. Again, same idea, I will place them near the main road, so that they have quick access to it and can get everywhere very quickly. So one will be... Actually, let's make them a bit more central. One of them will be over here, And then the police station is a little bit bigger. The police station can go over here. And now, of course, it's time to zone in some housing. Now what I'm trying to do is basically just make these row houses zone in all evenly and symmetrically. So I'm going around, and whenever I see a house zoned in like this, which is not the same length as the other ones, I just demolish it. And hopefully it's replaced by a longer one that's symmetrical to everything else.
I'm here in the middle of nowhere. There is no there, it is cold there, but I am safe.
And now the next thing I want to do is actually go to the development tree. And I want to already unlock both the college and the university. Because I really think education is pretty important in this game, so I want to get started on all of that right away. And the second thing I want to unlock is the gas power plant. So let's begin by placing this power plant over here. It will be replacing this small coal power plant that we placed before. And I did plan for it to be bigger than the other power plant, but it's actually way bigger, so I still can't really fit it in here. So I will actually have to use a different area for it. I will have to unlock these two map tiles. I will flatten this area out as well. If I don't, then the power plant itself will just flatten it, but it will look way more ugly. So I kind of have to. And let's just place the power plant just like this. So now let's just smooth out the edges over here. And of course, let's also connect it up to the grid, just like this. And like this. And now it is actually producing way more than we need for the city right now. But it will last us quite a long time, hopefully. Another thing I wanted to do was actually raise the taxes quite a bit. Because right now they are still at the default 10%. Let's raise them to at least 15. And then base everything else I do from there. Yeah, so that gives us a -3 for high taxes, but that's completely fine, that isn't too much. And when I have the money for it, I will want to place the university right here. But currently we don't have the money for it. So let's expand into some specialized industries in order to make some money. We're about to reach milestone 4 as well, and that will give us a bunch more specialized industries as well. Especially grain farming, we need that. And now we can see that there is actually some fertile land all the way down here. I did zone over it a little bit, but we can still use most of it. So let's buy the map tiles that it is in, which is just this one right here, and start expanding roads down there in order to set up some infrastructure. I will not flatten this bit, because it will be mainly farmland, and some hills will make it look even a bit nicer in my opinion. And there's Grand Village as well. So as I said, we now unlocked the production panel, which will give us way more details on what we need to produce. As well as we unlocked offices, laudent housing, and grain farming, which is pretty important as well. Also we unlocked forestry, and maybe I can place a forestry industry somewhere as well. So first of all, let's check the production panel. What do we need the most? We actually need livestock quite a bit, which is surprising because I thought that we would need grain the most. So let's place some livestock, some grain as well, and maybe a little bit of vegetables. Now I just put in a little bit of livestock and 2 different grain farms over here. That should give us a pretty nice surplus of grain and a surplus for now of livestock as well. And I have left this little bit of farmland here empty still. And that's because I'm waiting to unlock the vegetable farming and maybe even textile fiber farming. Maybe I can place those in this area. Let's just place a few offices along here.
When I close my eyes before going into the universe, I think about the moment we were hoping wouldn't end, because I never knew it was my imagination. I never wanted to say what I said, I just wanted an explanation.
And so with that, I will leave this city here. I guess this can be kind of a new series in this map, because this map is quite nice and there's a lot of space to expand. So I guess this will be kind of a new city series. So if you have a name for the city, then please suggest it, because I'm not creative enough to think of one. If no one suggests one, then I'll probably just generate one with AI in a few episodes. We started this city, we built a bunch of single family homes, placed the basic services, placed a bunch of row houses like this, also placed some farmland, and just now we are starting to get our first kind of high density buildings, these big apartments here. In the next episode I'll probably just keep expanding, likely in this direction. And yeah, so that will basically be it for this episode, and see you in the next one.